Here we go. Let's do this.
We've got one life, one shot. Who do you want to be? What do you want to do? Addicted to Betterment, a podcast to inspire us to keep going, to try something new, to dream, to think big, bigger, to overcome. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Hey, Nikki and David back here on Addicted to Betterment. So we've been really channeling the bigger universe to give us topics. And this one, we were both like, yes, this is it. So here it is. The roller coaster doesn't stop. We just learned to ride it better. I had a friend the other day that asked me, she's been in entrepreneurship for the past, maybe 3 years. And she said, so when does the roller coaster part stop? And I was like, yeah, never. And I think the thing I'm working on the most is how do I stay consistent through the ups and downs? And man, do I love those ups better than the downs, but just that consistency. And what are those things that I've learned around the roller coaster is going to be there. We're going to do the ups and downs. How do we stay consistent? I think it can be really helpful for all of us, particularly David and I. We're working through it ourselves. So David, what did you think when I threw out this topic?
Well, first of all, I said yes. Like you said, that's a hell yes, because life is a series of ups and downs from start to finish, even from young age to, your final days. It's literally that, a series of up and downs. And I chuckled when you said, man, this is a topic that's really on my heart, really on my mind, because I was thinking about what I experienced last night. Sports is kind of an indicator of life in many ways. And one of those is, as a sports fan, which I'm not a kind of a mediocre sports fan. I'm like everything else in life. I'm passionate about my favorite teams. Last night, one of my favorite teams was playing. You were kind of, doing stuff around the house, and you came in and sat in the living room for a bit.
Oh, I heard the oohs and ahs.
and the game was super close. I'm fired up, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's a great game. And then it got a little bit out of hand. I'm like, game's over. Never mind, whatever. And so I kind of did some other things. Next thing I know, I'm like, we're only down by 1 point. Oh my gosh, it's a game.
That's exactly what he was doing.
And suddenly I'm locked in. I'm passionate. And then we took the lead. I'm like, yes, we're going to win. And then minutes later, I'm like, it's over. Well, long story short, I went into overtime. And then next thing you know, and by the way, this was Pacers versus the Bucks last night. So I'm a Pacers fan, have been since I was a child. And it goes into overtime. Man, the Bucks went off to a lead. And I'm like, okay, it's over. We're down by 6 points, just a little bit left. And I cannot believe we lost at home. And the frustration and honestly despair that I was feeling. Like, I think of just, this is a sporting event. Like, who cares? But I was just defeated. Like, oh my gosh, I guess I'm going to go to bed defeated, just feeling miserable. And then next thing you know, I looked, holy cow, it's a tie ball game, or we're 1 point down. Now we have a chance to win. We won the game. I literally threw my phone across the room when we won. I'm like, yes.
And you went skipping to bed.
And I felt like I could conquer the world. So literally in a matter of, we'll call it 30 minutes, I was despair, wanted to make a cocktail, just to, defeated. Oh man, the Pacers suck. I can't believe we lost at home. To being, yes, we have a chance to win. To being, oh my gosh, Tyrese Halliburton is the best player on the planet. To being, oh my gosh, we suck. That whole roller coaster, if you're a parent, if you're in a relationship, if you're a business owner, really, if you're doing anything in life and you're actually caring and you're actually giving your best, you can relate to that because it applies to everything. So when you said, hey, I'm feeling like doing this roller coaster, that, how to survive, and not just survive, but thrive in the roller coaster of life. Like, none of us want to survive. If you're listening to this, you want to thrive through life. How do you do that with the roller coaster? So I was like, wow, I experienced that last night. So I was all in.
Yes. Well, here we go. I think the first thing to do is to normalize it. No matter, if you're an entrepreneur and have your own business, which that's how I got started here with this topic, is the ups and downs. Like right now, I'm on the high point of the coaster. It's so fun. And David, who is closest to me, he's like, please be on the high point of the roller coaster today, and how do we stay consistent through the ups and downs right now on the high point? But when my friend asked me this around, how long is that roller coaster thing part of it? I'm like, I don't know it any different. And I've been doing this for quite a while. And I really want to learn how to master the ups and downs and just realize like it's all up and down business, relationships, health, the weight journey, the exercise routine of being in the flow at the gym, all the things, right? We go through cycles and that's normal. So I think if we can aim for the steadiness within versus the trying to get the steadiness in our external world, it's about the inner being and staying consistent and how to do that, right? Like we're all striving for consistency. Let's normalize that life is chaotic. We can only work on us and what's within us. So let's do our very best to talk through the ways to stay consistent. Cause right now I'm on the high of the roller coaster and I want to stay consistent all throughout. So, David, let's break down what we've learned so far or what we aspire to apply to stay consistent throughout the journey of the roller coaster.
A question I have just to, as we dive into this. So you just described right now you're on the high, so let me ask you a question, Nikki. And obviously I'm your biggest fan. So I get to see this high and low. And when you're at the high, do you sometimes feel like, man, I'm the best at what I do? I love this. I'm gifted and I'm just on a roll and everything I touch is rolling. Like, do you feel that way?
I don't know if those are the exact words. It's more the confidence is really strong. When things are well, when things are going great, it's like, yeah, we can take that on. Of course, if it's a hell yes, but much more apt to say, yes, let's go. Decision making is quicker, right? When you've got a lot of clutter and you've got doubt, it's not as easy to make the decision and, all the things. So I think just better confidence, life is flowing better, a version of what you said.
hmm So my question is when things are you're the same person, you're working the same, same amount, you have the same strategy, you have the same gifts, you have the same talents. When you feel like you're swimming upstream, it's easy. And I'm wondering if you ever feel this like, do I even know what I'm doing? Like
Oh, yeah.
what in the world? And I think the first thing when you said normalizing it is understanding that, you know, we can't believe our emotions. Our emotions will lie to us. Like we feel extra good when things are going great and all of this because I'm the same way. It's like when things are just happening, I'm like, oh my gosh, I am so good at this and I'm so glad I'm doing this. It's what I'm born to do. It's what my purpose is. And then when I feel like, holy cow, everything is going against me, then I scratch my head. I'm like, why am I even doing this? I suck at it. And I think it's just establishing that we're the same person. You're the same person. You have the same gifts, the same talents, and that we can't honestly believe our emotions because they will lie to us. They will tell us that the exterior circumstances are worse than they are or better than they are. And so I think that's the first thing. And when you say normalizing is just understanding that we cannot believe our emotions and we can't believe that voice in our head that says all those things because that voice will lie to you. And so that's the first thing that I would say.
I think that's really, really good. I was thinking early in prep for this. Okay, what would be the building blocks? I always do things in a similar way. I'm like, what is the mindset? What are we trying to like reframe in our minds? And then what are the building blocks? And then how do we do those building blocks? So go with me. I think these building blocks that I was coming up with earlier as I was brainstorming with another team member, number one, and we've talked about this on other episodes, is the power of surrender and realizing it's not all up to us and things are working out for us behind the scenes. Like things are being orchestrated. We don't know all of this. We don't control all of that. Surrendering to God, surrendering to the universe, and really living that out day to day in the highs and the lows. The second, particularly I'm thinking about in the world of entrepreneurship, is the financial stability to be able to weather all the storms. So this is very particular to what I was talking about in my and probably in all areas of life, right? You got to have your financial house in order. And with a high growth startup company, just making sure that you're always set for the things because when you have a setback and financials dip, you had a really challenging quarter, man, it's hard. And the fear really creeps in. It's like, yeah, that surrender stuff. I get it. But like, you don't understand, like the bank account. And so the financial health is such a strong building block. And then third, and these are not in order really, the third is like in the work realm, business, the team, believing we can do anything, believing that this team can do anything together. So thinking about in your house, believing that you and your spouse can do anything together, believing that you have the best friends that are there for you throughout. So, surrendering life is much bigger than what we see and God is in control. Financial health and stability that plans for rainy days and people that surround us that are incredible people. So those were kind of the building blocks that I laid out earlier. David, we hadn't talked about this, so I'm curious your thoughts.
Yeah, and I love that we didn't talk about it. I love that I had no idea what you're going to say because it's interesting. You just touched on, surrendering and that belief that I'll call it that unwavering belief in the team and that things are working out as they should. I love that because it's so easy to say, let's stay even keeled when things are hard. And I love how you said it's like, yeah, that thing it'll work out. Yeah, that sounds good, but on paper, but look at the bank account. So I think the practicality of that because it is easy to do it at times and other times it's almost impossible to do it depending on the situation. And I think the number one action step that I would give is a daily centering practice. If you haven't stayed in a daily practice of prayer or meditation or whatever it is that you identify as your daily practice of being centered, being grounded, knowing that it's hard to do that, to start that practice when your back's against the wall and you're underwater. It's like, okay, now I got to get centered. And you haven't built that muscle in that daily practice. Now you're trying to do that centering, to have that unwavering belief, to have that confidence that things are going to work out. Now you're trying to do it when it's super hard. If you just build that daily practice of, man, I know that everything is working out as it should. I know that the plan is happening as it should. It doesn't feel like it right now, but I know that this challenge is working out for me. And it's really hard to start that when you're in a bad place. But if you build that daily practice, whatever it looks like for me, it's a morning routine that many would call boring, but I'm so committed to it because I know that if I stay in that rhythm and keep it a discipline, it works when things are great and it's easy. And then when things are bad, it keeps me, that helps me. Wouldn't say I've got it mastered by any stretch, but having that regular practice is key.
And you just helped me with some words that I'm curious your thought on this here. If we think rather than the building blocks, what are our anchors, the things that anchor us that we know we have to keep? I don't know what I want to say because it sounds like I'm controlling it, but at play, the most important building blocks, that those are our anchors. So I shared the three that I shared, which are surrender, believing in, God and the universe, financial, and then the people that surround me are great and strong and all that, right? Let's call that anchors. So whether those are your anchors, you have to know your anchors. What are your anchors? And then you started to talk about, the morning routine, and you are so good at that. And I also very much honor my morning routine. Actually, I have a story about that real quick. I call that rituals. So we've got our anchors and we've got our rituals. So as part of the financial component, let's say that one of my rituals is weekly. I sit and look at my investments and savings accounts and I figure out what am I applying there. And it's an every week I have a time block on my calendar outside of what's like automatic, like my auto, contributions. Is there other things that I can be putting in there, right? To prepare for weathering the storms, weathering the coaster going down. So anchors and rituals, and all of us get to figure out like what is our recipe. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I love how you classified that, and I think a key part of those rituals and anchors is, and you're gonna laugh when you hear me say this, because is to have rules. I'll say rules. I'll just use that word. I hate rules, and you know how much I hate rules. But if you have this predetermined plan for how you're going to handle it when things go bad, so you have rules. I'll call it rules for the dip. You know, here's how I'm doing when things are high, but hey, this is what I am committed to because we have already established that the dips are going to happen. The roller coaster is part of life. It's inevitable. You can have the best relationship, you can have the best work career, you can, no matter what it is, you can have the best kids. The emotional roller coaster of life is inevitable. And so if you have rules for the dip, I'll call it, this is how I am going to handle it when I'm at the low spot. I'm committed to this. I already have this in my mind, and I'm not going to allow anything else to determine. So now when I get in that spot and the finances I hit the brick wall, I got the curveball or whatever it is, this is how I'm going to handle. Because I know for myself, I look back and I have some key moments in my life that I want to punch myself in the nose for how I handled those low spots. And one of the things I learned from that is now I have these rules in place for myself. When I hit that unexpected dip in the roller coaster, this is how I'm going to handle it. And that helps me in those low times.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good. Anchors, rituals, rules for the dip. This is why we do this podcast, because we did none of that 15 minutes ago. It's like, let's solve this together. So it's very curious to hear what others are doing. But when we think about rules for the dip for a second, I know that during the time where I am on the down, right, in the dip, I don't want to converse with my good friends, the ones that are really healthy, anybody really. Like, I'm just more of a isolator. Like, listen, I'm not going to be like adding to the vibe. I'm be taking from the vibe, so I'm not going to show up. I'm taking from them to be able to help me, right? Like, it's not all about me bringing the juice every time and all the up and up. And I know that I need that at that time. That would be a rules for the dip. Like, I'm reaching out to Nadine and we're having a real conversation about what's going on. And gosh, I always feel better. Always feel better. But my natural self wants to run from that. I'm like, I'll call her when I'm feeling great so that I can be such a contributor on the call, you know? Any other dip? What's an example for you, David?
Man, I think, and I'm going to use your word anchor. I loved it when you said it, but I think the important piece is being anchored to your why. You got to stay closely connected to your why during those dips. It's easy to do when things are great, but I think of business. You're working your tail off. You're doing everything you can to achieve these objectives. And it's just everything that should be going right isn't. And you're experiencing setback after setback. And you step back, okay, why am I doing this? Why am I committed to this? If it's in a relationship, this is my favorite human. I know I love all of these things about her or your kids or whatever it is. It's easy to be emotional and look at what is right in front of you, what is the current present moment. But if you stay closely connected to the why behind it, it really flatlines that dip, or it helps you stay more determined and more focused rather than letting your emotions dictate your actions.
Mhm. And this is also the power of, to kind of coincide with what I was sharing around when I'm not in a great place, I tend to isolate. I don't want to bring them down. And so I need to be leaning in, having community around you all the time, no matter what, and being consistent. Your peer groups, your mastermind group, your, therapist, your mentors, whatever they are, staying consistent through the roller coaster ride with those relationships and investing in those people. So they're there no matter what. Like, I have a group, I've mentioned it probably many times on here, my CAMs, my kick-ass mamacitas. We have a text group. We're texting each other regularly with uplifting things, challenging things, just a regular support group of really good friends of mine that are, business friends, life friends, all of that. But keeping community consistent, because what they do is provide not only love and support and stability, as those people in your life, but they'll help you to zoom out from the situation. I read something earlier today that when the ride feels super wild and it's like emotionally impacting you, you're way too close. When you zoom out and you're looking at it objectively, it's like, oh, it's just part of the long game, which in a week, that's the way we're going to be looking at it, right? We're past it. And it's just like, oh, that was part of the process. But in it is really hard. So if you have community around you all the time to be able to help with that consistency, I think that's something that, like, we don't use it when we need it. It's a consistent thing that helps through the journey.
Such a powerful point, and I would even double down on it. You just shared, I'm exactly the same in this. My tendency is to isolate when things are hard. I'm going to work through this. I'm going to get through it on my own. I don't share with friends. I don't share with, that's how I've always been. I think probably because I've been burnt before, and now I'm just like, okay, I'll get through this on my own. I would actually take what you said one step further and say, lean on your inner circle. An action step when things are hard. I don't even know if I would say stay consistent, which I love. Don't isolate, But instead, go the other direction. Instead of pulling away, force yourself to lean in on them. Dive in closer, get closer, have more conversations. When our natural tendency is to isolate and pull away, man, if we would lean in, it would probably help us significantly. And this is probably, of all the things, it's probably the thing I'm worst at. But I will say I agree with you. And I think an action step to make the roller coaster a little more smooth is to lean into your inner circle.
So we said when we kicked off, the roller coaster doesn't stop. We just need to learn how to ride it better. And the question becomes, if the ride never stops, who do I need to become so I can ride it well? And so when you think, David, I know you are a facilitator of some business owner peer groups and a number of things. And I've heard you say before, who do you need to become? Let's kind of close out with this challenge of, okay, this is what it is. The ride is up and down, right? And we know we need these anchors and the rituals and the rules for the dip. Who do I need to become to ride it well? And maybe share with us what you've been doing with some of your teams on this.
That's so good. And I'm going to steal this line directly from you. And I think you stole it from someone else, but I'll start with, what do I choose to believe about this situation? I've heard you say that. And so first, you're in a dip. Okay. Reframe it. It's not as bad as it feels. It's hard to tell yourself that in the thing, but when you are trying to get to a certain level in life, whether it's in business, and we both live in the business world, and I feel like I have 90% of my conversations are with business owners, and I challenge business owners all the time you're trying to get your business to this certain level. Well, the leader that you are right now cannot lead a business at that level. So who do you need to become? And that's going to be challenges. And as a matter of fact, when you try to become that leader, you're going to experience dips. So I get to participate in Can't Stop the Growth, and it's a business support platform. And it's interesting because the logo is an arrow it goes up, and then there's a sharp down, and then there's another up. And one day I was looking at that and I was like, oh my gosh, growth in life, in relationships, in business, in any aspect of life, it's not a straight line. And if you understand that it's part of growth, is that who do I need to become? If I want to be the husband, if I want to be the father, this is who I want to be. I'm going to experience some of these setbacks, some of these what feels like downturns or dips, as you refer to them. That's part of it. And I heard a quote one time in a meditation, and it stuck with me. And I literally think about this all the time. I grow through what I go through.
Mm-hmm.
I grow through what I go through. And so even recently I've had setbacks in business and different things. And I'm like, why am I dealing with this? And the thing that comes to mind is, I'm going to grow through this. And the me that is becoming this thing has to go through this to become what I'm trying to become. The best version of me has to go through this. And so it's a growing opportunity. And man, one thing we can all relate to, those growth opportunities don't feel like growth opportunities when you're in them. They feel like the opposite. And I don't know about you, Nikki, but the thing that's most tempting for me to do is take the easy way out. Just, okay, cash it in, I'm done. And man, staying connected to your whys, keeping those daily practices, those anchors, all those things, man, those can help you stay the course and grow to who you're becoming.
Yes. Well, go endure your next roller coaster and do it better. We'll see you next time.
So you just listened to this episode. Now, join us in being addicted to betterment. Please subscribe to the show, share with your friends, tag us, and please take a moment, leave a review. Yeah, we do want your stars, but we really want the feedback.